All right, welcome to the Unstoppable Growth Podcast. I am so excited that you are either watching on our YouTube channel or maybe you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or all those different platforms we have in the house. My beautiful and beloved wife, Rebecca. Give it up. Give it up for Rebecca.
Here for myself too.
Oh, let's go, Rebecca. Absolutely. And we have, of course, the one and only Brian Thorne.
Thank you. These introductions are new. I like them.
All right. Brian Thorne. I mean, you all know Brian Thorne. He is the salesman of the century. He,
One with the loud voice.
the one with the loud voice, doing these.
More quiet.
He does business not just here in South Carolina, but all around the world, including Austria. Just a couple of weeks got back home from Austria. Now he's like this international salesman, and he's like working for all these for the Russian mafia.
Well, it's questionable, but everything is legit.
Everything is legit. But he also, of course, leads one of our Unstoppable Growth small groups. It's quite a big small group that meets at Seacoast Church. And our guest today, my goodness, our guest today, Lee Carrick, is a part of his Unstoppable Growth community and has experienced some breakthrough there at Unstoppable Growth. And his story is absolutely fascinating. And you will want to listen all the way through. But I won't introduce Lee. Brian, who knows him really well. Come on.
Brian,
It's Lee.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. And Lee, it is an honor to have you here on the podcast. I met Lee, we're in week 6, so it's 7 weeks ago. Because we didn't have a week off. Met 7 weeks ago, and Lee shared his story on week 1.
Yeah.
And if it's been 6 weeks, I don't think I've gone a day without thinking about that story. It is beyond inspiring. I think, Tim, like you, I've got a million things in my head that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what does? It gets in the way of what really matters. And I think speaking to Lee, getting to know Lee, and reading Lee's story, I know the two things I want to focus on. And I'm just excited for Lee to be able to share this story. Like you said, it's inspiring, it's beautiful.
So when you say two things, what two things? Did you say two things that you want? Is that what we're going to talk about? The two things? Say it, man. Say it.
God, my wife.
Amen.
Like if at the end of my time on this earth, my wife can say my husband was a man of God and he loved me as much as he could, what else matters? Do I care if I'm a great salesperson or I'm doing business? It doesn't matter.
I am about to cry.
I had a meeting today. I had to wipe my tears because I'm reading these stories.
When he told me that, I was blown away. I'm like, what? That's what it's all about. I mean, seriously, I'm just like, my little story. And it wasn't me. The Lord put that on you. I mean, that was Jesus. But I was blown away. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I'm just like, I thought about that, like, just incredible. Now, before we dig into your story, could you just introduce? I know we're going to go deeper right away.
Go slow.
Let's go a little bit slower.
Build it up a little.
And let's look at the surface so that people, surface level, people have a connection to you, maybe also career-wise, job-wise. What have you been doing all of your...
I'll start off. I am such an ordinary guy, little kid, grew up in Orlando, Florida, which was probably like it was here in Mount Pleasant, little small town known for rodeos and orange groves.
Yeah.
Before Disney.
I was going to say this is before Disney.
Oh, way before Disney. It was small town, it was agrarian culture. It was very simple. It's a fantastic place to grow up. Hunting, hiking, swimming. It was a beautiful place to grow up. And my parents had moved in to Baltimore in 1960 when I was 2 or 3, and my wife Suzanne actually was born in Orlando, in downtown. One of the unusual situations for the. It's kind of weird. It's like being born in Mount Pleasant, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
I don't know if I met anybody born.
Yeah.
So I made a very regular upbringing. I will just fast forward to meeting Suzanne. Let me just jump in there. Regular kids, my parents had moved to the west side of town a year before high school. Didn't really know anybody. She grew up in high school, played in the tennis team, was popping everybody. Was kind of an unknown. And but I had a couple friends, and her best friend and my best friend decided we need to get these two together, unbeknownst to me. Which is interesting because I still remember the first time I saw her. Valentine, 1974, and I'm the oldest guy in the room. And the guys go into the big auditorium. This is the old, hot Florida sun, wood and everything. Just at the top, and I don't know why I remember this from the Lord. I remember seeing all those young gals who go by in their dresses and get announced. But I remember seeing this girl in this polka dot dress. I'm like, who is that? I had no idea what that's my friend. I'm sure he said her name. That gets tucked away. So fast forward to October. I've never been a Halloween guy. This never happened. Still not. But my friends say, hey, all the gang is going to meet at the Burger Chef, and we're all going to get the cars and go to a haunted house. I'm like, whatever. Okay. Unbeknownst to me, it was a setup. So I drive my little convertible in there and park, and all the kids are hanging out. And all of a sudden, they'll start jumping. The cars are taking off. And I'm like, there's this girl standing, and she's kind of looking at me because her ride left her. And my best friend, and I'm like, I still remember saying to her, hey, I'm Lee. You want to go and get in the car? She's like, yeah, sure, let's go. That's fine, Suzanne.
You recognized her right away from when you saw her for the first time? No.
But somehow in my mind, I put those two together. Yeah. I actually had seen her at another time at a restaurant mid between there. That's one other story. And that's when I remember her name, but I still didn't recognize her. It's just like, who is anyway? Let's fast forward through that night. I remember that night. So my car starts smoking. Okay, it's an old Ford, We go to a friend's house to get his car, and he drives us out. And like, let's just go out. We lived on the outside of town. Kids just go hang out and park their cars and sit out and talk, So we got the car, we're walking around. I still remember exactly what she had on and exactly what she looked like. It was a moonlit night, and something just stuck in me. So fast forward to, we start dating, go to prom together, big senior prom, played our favorite song, and we date going to college. So in 1978, for some reason, the Lord probably rolled this out. Easter sunrise services were popular back then. I don't know if they still do those. So we lived in Orlando. There's a place called SeaWorld where Shamu and the dolphins, Well, they would book that whole place for Easter. So I'd say to my girlfriend, hey, let's go to SeaWorld, Easter sunrise service. A couple of high school kids. Yeah, sure. Give the invitation. I raise my hand. Boom. I'm in. And she's crying on the way home. You're going to change. We're going to have to break up. No, that'd be okay. So what
you gave life to Jesus.
You made the decision.
I accepted Christ. I'm like, I put my hand
At SeaWorld.
At SeaWorld.
At SeaWorld.
Dr. Jim, I can't remember his latest name, but my hand up, and I'm like, oh, I'm all in, man. So she's like, and I was talking to her about it. She's like, oh my God, you it's all changing. And I'm all lit up. I said, be okay. So we start going to a Baptist church that I was in ROTC with a guy that, a full-time Air Force guy, a pilot, he became my best friend, sang in the choir. So let's go to his church. We went twice. The second time we go, we're sitting there singing in the hymns, and she goes out. She walked in front of me, and I still remember. They're like, oh my gosh, she went forward, gave her life to Christ. Wow. It was like, whoa. So at this point, I'm still like, okay, that's cool. So
did anything change in your relationship then to her?
The real high level background is, quick answer is yes, but a little background is, her parents and my parents had some of the typical addictions, and things didn't really go well, Yeah. So, but we just kind of clicked. So then we hear about this whole Jesus thing. So we go to church, like the next Sunday, and they're preaching through Ephesians. Here's what the husband does. I remember sitting there going like, whoa, this is written down? Actually,
Where's that found that year?
here's what the wife does. I'm like, whoa. So I just remember just drinking this in. Yeah. So that's a little backdrop to, we started talking, and we're like, we're rolling with this. Yeah. I mean, this feels right. We've accepted this Jesus thing. We're figuring it out. It feels good. And it just made us, and we were always tight because the outside was always negative to us, the family and everything. So we just built this bubble. Yeah. And it just kept getting better and better. So it absolutely changed. And so a couple months into that, maybe more than a couple months, maybe several months, I realized, oh, I'm in love with this girl. This is for real. We're still in college. And I'm like, dude, I gotta tighten up here. I gotta get married one day. I hope she'll marry me. Got to be a provider. So I was an art student with long hair and a surfboard, we'd go to the beaches every weekend and surf and everything. We were good kids, but I was kind of a free spirit. So I cut my hair, switched from art to engineering, signed up for ROTC. I took the surfboard and I still surf. And we just went whoosh.
And so then you got married.
So 2 years later, we got married. We got married. I got commissioned. We went to our first duty assignment, got our first plane within 6 weeks.
Wow.
Oh, well, plus the Air Force gave us orders like 3 months early.
Yeah.
And we had planned to get married like in November. So I called the church. What? You got the pastor available? Said a Tuesday night. I said, I'll take it. He said, no, you don't get married. I said, no, I'm getting married on Tuesday night. He's going with us. We got married on Tuesday night.
Wow.
And then, so we just always had this, because all these external things put us together. I think we had no money. She made her own dress. I couldn't afford an engagement ring.
Yeah.
We got married at the church. We made our own little sandwiches and cut them all up, Baptist church, there's no dancing, it's got to be very quiet, which is cool. But it gave us time to talk about what do we want to do?
Yeah.
We didn't have a big wedding to plan, and we didn't know what a generational curse was, but we kind of made this pact. We're going to break the curse. Whatever's affecting our parents.
Yeah.
You're the example of what you not want to leave,
Yes,
right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew at such an early age and early in that relationship, this is what we want with our life.
Yeah. We knew we didn't want that. And plus we're hearing about this Ephesians thing. And
Yeah.
rules for being a husband, the head of the household and the wife and the kids. We're just like,
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough of it.
It's so funny when you share your story. First of all, you're a very good storyteller.
Really?
I'm sitting here. I could listen the whole evening to you.
So you gotta give me this. Cut me off when I go too long.
No. But second of all, you have this deep radio voice. I mean, you need to really use this.
Yeah.
You're weaving me totally into your world.
People have said that to me lately. You'll love this. Years ago, somebody had said to me, "Lee, everything about being on the radio?" I'm like, no, I was still in the military. And she leaned up. She was a character. She goes, "Hey, you should. You have a great face for radio." I'll never forget that.
Well, so you got married and you're developing this amazing relationship to your wife. How many children?
2 kids. We married 4 years and had Matt, and then 2 years later had our daughter Betsy.
And out of our conversations that we've had with each other, you've shared, how great a partnership you had built with her and with the whole family. And, you were now coming to retirement and things were looking like, okay, this is going to be retirement. We're going to pull back a little bit. We're going to chill. We're going to take it easy and enjoy.
Take the surfboard out a bit more.
And enjoy the fruit. But
I did till I almost drowned one time. I said, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
I got kids. So that thing.
But it didn't turn out the way that you both.
No, it didn't. It's and it's so interesting. We just continue to build this bubble. We poured ourselves into each other, and even when I had jobs and things, and I never put my treasure in the job. To me, job was, it was just me. We decided way back when I was in the military, she could stay at home mom. We're going to raise the kids. I'm like, it's all on this guy. And I knew I couldn't go to my parents for anything or her parents. So I just worked my tail off. I mean, not to go up the chain, but I want to make sure I'm not going to get fired.
Yeah.
But I always put all my treasure in her. So we jump forward to, she says to me, I think we're in our 55. She said, we're all thinking that we're living outside DC. We'd moved around the country and we knew we didn't want to stay there. Got too cold, too many cars. There's more people at that time living in the DC metro area than the entire state of South Carolina. Wow. So she always heard from the Lord a lot more than I did. And she always had such great insight. So she says, we had some friends older than us. She said, remember, tell us we're in our mid-50s. started thinking about plan for retirement. Don't wait till you're 65.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a good idea. So what did we do? She said, well, we have to find a place. And we didn't want to go back to Orlando because Disney, it was like a tourist mecca. So we said, well, let's go near the water, someplace conservative, it's got nice churches, military base, So she said, well, let's take vacations and just kind of hop down the coast. And let's go to Wilmington, or let's go to Virginia Beach. Well, one year she says, a couple years later, she says, let's go to Charleston. I'm like, Charleston? It's in South Carolina. And no, she's like, read about it, saw the Living Magazine. I'm like, are you sure? I mean, that's the place that's got the terrible road. Okay, whatever. So we came down October of 2012, I think, and stayed down. Well, stayed not downtown so much, but down where Marion Park is, and we're walking and people talking to us. We fell in love with it. Yeah. Started looking around for churches. So we came back 5 or 6 times, didn't go any place else. And we're praying about it. She's like, this is the place. I'm like, yeah, this is the place. So we bought a house, bought a fixer-upper. It's another story. Got it all fixed up. And it was around that time that we decided, you know what? I could keep working longer, stay in the rat race, or we could cut our expenses and adjust to what we had saved, what our retirement would be. Great plan for us, because if I had stayed working until the typical 65, I wasn't working full time when she made the jump to heaven. So instead, we moved down. I think I'm 60, 59. Yeah. So 5 years earlier, I went part-time, but we joined Seacoast Church, and we're in Kids Coast, we're learning things. And my kids ended up moving down here. My son moves down a year before she passed away. And he was working up in Maryland, working hard, didn't get to see him much. So I remember her telling me when she's in the hospital, she says, I now know why the Lord moved Matt down, because we get to be with him for the year, so that was a real blessing. So, so tell me where you want me to go now. So
What happened?
So she was literally always healthy. And I was too. Never sick. She never took any prescription drugs. She never took any flu shots. No, I had to take, was as a military, I had to take all the regimens because we would go overseas and stuff. She was always healthy. So she gets a cold. I actually got a cold one September 22. Go to the doctor, get a couple meds, feel a little better. I got better. She didn't. Back and forth a couple of times. Doctor says, hey, let's go get a chest x-ray. I said, oh, you got a little pneumonia. Take some more and come back in a couple of weeks and we'll give you a CT scan. So it was December 7th, the night of the Dream Team Awards.
Yeah.
And
you were up for an award.
And we didn't know that.
Yeah.
So she and I were up for the Love People Award, and we were working for Bridget at the time, who was, running Kids Coast. So Bridget said, you coming? I said, well, I'm texting her. She's just getting a CAT scan. We'll be there. Mm-hmm. So nurse comes out with the big eyes and says, you're going to come back, Mr. Carrick. And as I was walking back, the Lord put this on me. I remember saying to myself, no matter what happens, do not get mad at God. Clear as a bell. And I'm like, all right. Because I'd known people, I go through situations and they're all mad at God. And I'm like, you missed the boat. Yeah. So I go back there, and she's sitting on the bed. She's all happy. The doctor's all happy. It's good news. It's pneumonia. I'm like, well, because we can fix that. She's got it real bad. Well, we can fix it. Oh, great. We're going to put her in the hospital, but she might have tuberculosis because the tests are a little off, and hospital protocol says she's got to be in a negative pressure isolation room. And that's good because we don't want anything else floating around until we identify this. So that's fine. So that was Wednesday night. They put her in isolation, dark 30, Thursday morning. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I sat outside texting and waving the hospital room, which was good because I got to talk to the nurses, and they kind of got to talk to me, and they couldn't go in. You had to be all suited up, So the doctors were saying to me, it's not this, it's not that. We're narrowing it down. And I remember talking to the doctor and, texting with her. She said, hey, I think they've narrowed it down. I'm going to be going home soon. This is Saturday night. I'm like, great. I see the doctor on the way at 9, 10 o'clock at night, which is the perfect time to talk to the doctor because ain't nobody around in the ICU, And the doctor says, yeah, I think we got it. We'll see you tomorrow morning, because I show up early for rounds. in parallel with all this, I'm there all hours of the day and night. So I'm walking out talking to people and start meeting this lady. Oh, she's a believer, this nurse. I think there's like one dude nurse, most of them are ladies. Not that it matters. But I start kind of wincing, talking to people like, oh, there's all these believers here, you know? It's pretty cool. So I go in Sunday morning and the curtains are all open, the doors are open. She's sitting in the bed. I'm like, this is great. And I go and I get to hug her. We're talking. She said, I think I'm going home. This is great. I think they must have figured it out. So about 9 o'clock, the doctor walks in, gray, just a young guy, great doctor, who I find out later, superb doctor. That doctor never has worked, this is in Roper, Mount Pleasant. He works downtown. One of the other nurses, who actually happens, I find out later, also go to Seacoast, tells me later, he's never here.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe this. He's a really good doctor. Why was he here that week? I'm like, well, I think I know. So he walks in and says, I don't tell you this, Mrs. Carrick, you're in perfect health. Blood pressure, weight, everything. He said, you got this pneumonia. Well, look, I said, everything's literally perfect. You've eaten organic, you never smoked, you never drank, but you have stage 4 lung cancer.
Wow.
And it has doubled since you came in Wednesday night.
Oh, wow.
And it is a monster. It's very rare. And there's nothing you can do. And it's going to double exponentially.
Yeah.
And he said, because you're so healthy, I give you 1-2 months to live. So I'll see you this afternoon. We'll come up with options. They try and get you home, whatever. Fast forward, he comes in. So that's a whole other discussion I can come back to, is what we talked about. Amazing discussions. He comes back. She said, get the kids in here. We told the kids. And which is still shocking. I thought about it afterwards. My kids had basically 48-hour notice from when they got to come in and see her Sunday afternoon around 3. She jumped to heaven on Tuesday at 3:30. So Doc goes back and says, you're taking in so much. The only issue was she had a huge need for oxygen, not intubated, but it's a little mask, you know, because half of her lung was just full of this pneumonia and the cancer. And he said, you won't survive the 5-mile trip home. We can't push enough oxygen. You got to stay here. We'll take care of you. Everything will be fine, you know. So,
Do you remember you said when you walked in, don't get mad at God? How did you speak with God?
I said, absolutely. I mean, I thought, and I look back, you usually want to hear what the Lord is like. It's a sentence. This was like me saying the sentence, but I didn't make that up. Yeah. I'm convinced the Lord put in my head, don't be mad at me. What I heard myself think was, whatever happens, don't get mad at God.
Yeah.
And well, I've heard this news, you didn't get mad.
Oh, I left out a key point. Let's go back to like Friday night. She goes in Wednesday. All her tests, normal. I mean, she's got pneumonia. They're testing, X-ray, you know. Looking back, I now think they knew as soon as she was in there it was cancer. Yeah. But they're not going to say the C word till they know. So they're cranking through tests. So I go on Friday night, I'm like, all these blood tests are normal. Oxygen needs going up. And I just broke down and cried on my bed. I just cried out to God. I'm like, something's wrong. What is going on? And I just lost it. And I heard in my brain, as clear as a bell, Lee, I love her more than you do. You have to trust me. You have to let her go. Wow. And I'll give her back to you. And immediately, I mean, you know, when you hear the Lord, you're like, I know where that is. And I just.
I mean, he always was your treasure. He was
oh, yeah. That was everything. This was the most horrific.
I love her more than you.
I know. And I will never forget that. And it just struck me like, oh my gosh, she does.
Yeah.
It kind of like shocked me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the big guy talking. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just acknowledged it. I said, yes, absolutely. And immediately the anxiety was gone. I just sat in my bed. I'm like, wow. And I just had this peace. Now, I thought she was healed. She's going to have this miraculous story, you know. So jump back to Sunday. We start calling people, and Joel comes in, and the kids goes, and they're praying, going to the oil. And I'm like, she's getting healed. She's getting healed. It's going to work, you know. And the Lord didn't tell me that. I just wanted that to happen.
Yes.
And I was correct. I just had the location wrong.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so that's a key point going into all this. So when I get this news Sunday, the Lord had said to me, you gotta let her go. I got it. I love her. And I'm just like, okay, man, So this wasn't anything under my strength. This is the Lord working in me, preparing me
How was he
for that
taking it?
move. So I just, when he told us that, I mean, you just get this cold chill and you can't hear anything. And we talked about all kinds of things you never think you're going to be talking about, because dudes die first. Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of, I have my little plan, you know, I have something retirement fund and make sure everything in the house is good, because I'm kicking it to the big guy way before she is. Yeah. So my mind's racing, and I remember her saying to me, and again, we had accepted Christ back in 1978, and we were talking, and she looked at me, and I saw this fear in her eyes that I had never seen before. And she said, I don't think I'm good enough to go to heaven. I don't know. I'm like, baby, you know better than that. It just came out. I said, you know, and we talked about, you know, accepting Christ and living this life. And she was amazing. And she just kind of shook it. And I just realized she was facing death, and she was scared. I was like, what is it all about? And I just saw this look that I'd never seen before. So we're talking and we're praying, talking a bunch of things, and maybe an hour or so passed. And she says to me, "What's heaven like? What's it gonna be like?" And I thought we'd talk about that too. And in my Purple Book class at Nelson and Stan Davis run, we had talked 2 weeks before about, you know, heaven, and we kind of talked about the book of life and forgiveness, sins, and judgment. I'm rolling it out. I'm like, thank you, Lord. So we kind of talk, and she knew all that, but she kind of nodded her head.
Needed to hear it again.
And then she says to me, "Would you play my favorite song?" And she had a lot of favorite songs. I said, "Sure." She said, "Which one?" She said, "Would you play I Can Only Imagine?" And so I get my phone out, boom, boom, pop it up, start playing it. And she's sitting on the side of the bed, her head down, kind of softly singing it. I'm singing it, and I can hear her voice. And slowly her head lifts, and she looks up. And I realize she's still singing. I can't hear her. Yeah. She ain't singing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I am absolutely convinced Jesus was lifting her head and comforting her. From that point on, no fear. She was at peace. You know, again, later today, the kids come in. She was cool and calm, going to do these things. You know, there were some tears. I mean,
Yeah.
but people come in to see her. The doctor came in later that day and started talking to her about, you know, here's what we can do, can't do. We're going to put you in hospice. And he breaks down crying. Crying. And she reaches over, puts his hand on her shoulder. She said, "It's okay. It's okay. Take your time." I'm like, she was a strong one. I'm like, the Lord, oh my gosh. And he looked at her like,
yeah,
"Are you talking to me?" And it just came out. I said, "Hey, Doc, you're allowed to be human." And he looked at me tears eyed. He said, "No, people don't believe we're human. We're not allowed to be human." And my heart just broke for this guy. I hear later from one of the ladies, the nurse that went to Seacoast, that he was a good guy, great doctor, religious guy, had really made that jump and really accepted Christ. And she said, "Your wife's making an impact on him." Wow. Yeah. Just like, wow. So these little, from two little simple, regular kids, you know, common people. I remember telling somebody, one of my men's groups, "I'm just a common guy." This is after she had made the jump. And it was Heath from up in McClellanville. He said, "But Lee, you may be a common man, but you serve on a common God." Yeah. I would never forget that. Yeah. So, So, like I said, I walked out of the hospital. Oh, well, the big one. Want me to keep going? Yes. So the big one, so we're there with her all day. My daughter and I were, you know, the amazing nurse. God put this amazing Christian we had never seen before. Comes in, she's talking to us. I won't go into the details of what happens to the whole, but we witnessed it all. We were there, and somehow it's like it was all about to take care of Suzanne. What we saw, it didn't affect us. It's like somehow the Lord just, I'm going to protect your heart. It's kind of like I call it like you're in nurse mode. You see what's going on, but it's not going to affect you. And you're going to be there and you're going to pray for her and you're going to talk to her.
Yeah.
And the nurse said, "You're going to get a gift." What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So fast forward to, things happen. You see the monitors and you're like, okay, and the nurse said, "Okay, it's going to be time real soon."
So you realize very quickly it's not going to take a month. It's going to be much faster.
I didn't know that till maybe that Tuesday around noon, because her numbers started, because everything she thought, her numbers just started dropping.
Yeah.
And the nurses were superbly kind. But then I started listening to what she was politely telling me it's going to be today.
Yeah.
Without saying it's today. Because she was telling me these are the things that are going to occur. Be ready for this to happen. Be ready for that to happen, which was unbelievable. And my daughter was there with me. And so we're going through all that. So again, I put all my identity in her. And we had this amazing life. She was actually the only person in my life ever really loved me. I mean, other than my kids. I mean, we had this amazing relationship. So it's the nurse, and I'm on one side holding Suzanne's hand, and Betsy's holding the other hand, and then the numbers change, and you last breath, and you're just kind of sitting there, and Betsy says to me, and I'm looking down, like my brain's just churning.
Betsy's your daughter.
Betsy's my daughter. Yeah. She says, Daddy, I feel this joy in my heart. I said, baby, I don't know how to say this. I do too. I can't explain this.
You think that you should be sad.
I expect I'd be on the floor. I'd be jumping out the window or something,
Yeah.
But I didn't really even know what it was. I just, the Holy Spirit put this peace on us. And I, looking back, I realized that whole day was so peaceful. That nurse was in there. She was praying. It's just like,
Yeah.
Wow.
No stress.
Yeah. And it was just remarkable.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm walking out of the hospital, my brain's thinking, I'm like, you know what? This happened for a reason. Okay, Jesus, whatever you want me to do, let's go. I'm retired, I'm single. And I'd made a promise to her that I'm going to live a good life. I'm going to make a difference for that.
Yeah, like a last wish for you. So
She told me to have a good life. She said, you've been a good man, a good husband. She said, live a good life. Spend time at church. She loves Seco. Spend time for yourself. But she said, I want you to have a good life. The most amazing thing she said to me, with tears in her eyes. Well, first thing she says, don't die on me. This is because she said, this is actually the day before. Because the last day she was under. Because we had talked about, we'd known each other so long in our life. She said, this is years back. We're going to be an old couple that when one of us dies, the other one's going to die in a month or two.
yeah.
So she says to me, that can't happen. You're not going to crawl and hold die on me. You got to take care of the kids. You got to spend time. You need to keep living a life. And I'm like, and I mean, just like your first grade teacher taught me, I'm just like, got it.
Yeah.
And then she said to me, the most incredible one ever said to me, she says, you're a good man. You've been a good husband. You've been married your whole life. You got to get remarried. And I'm like, and my brain's like, no. She said, I want you to get remarried because if you don't, you won't make it. You'll die.
Yeah.
So at that point, I got my phone out. I'm taking, and then she said a bunch of other words. She says, here's where I want to be buried. We talked about, we had made a lot, I don't know, we had made a lot of preparations years ago, living wills, that kind of stuff, but I had never picked a funeral home,
Yeah.
But she said, I want to get, I mean, she was so on point, clear, and I knew the Lord was just keeping it calm. And so I made a promise to her, I will do that. I said, when you see me again, I want you to say, I'm so proud of you, Lee. You hung in there. You made a difference. You served the Lord. And that's my motivation. I want her to say, I'm proud of you. Wow.
I'm sure she does.
So,
What make it different for you, Mean?
what I did over the next month, because I'm a planner, I started scratching things out. Like, what does that mean? And I realized we all have unique skills. So I started having some unique skills and talents. I was in art school. Maybe I can use that. I know how to write. Got this administration skill, this leadership skill. I can do that. I like to serve, like to do things.
Just before we move into that, and I look forward to moving into the next part of the conversation of how you sort of went with that. I just feel like we just need to, say
Sure.
some things like, I don't know, like how it's impacting you, Brian or Rebecca, but maybe we could just say some things, like just the example that you set with how you listened to God, how you engaged with her, how you were able to have those conversations, is just so honoring, not just to God, but to your marriage, the commitment that you gave to each other, your children, and is a huge example for me, for us, for our marriage, and for so many others. And maybe we just take a moment. What was sort of like the most impactful thing that you feel we need to talk about from that story?
There's a lot, but I think for me, the lesson is like, I think this is an example of two people who did it right. Like,
Yeah.
they centered their life around the Lord. They centered their life around each other. And when that really tough kind of time came to lose your best friend and your partner, you had the peace beyond all understanding.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, the example, how to be a man.
Yeah.
Like, put God first, put your wife first.
Yeah.
I would imagine you've been very successful, Lee, in your career, and that's nothing it's your treasure was in her and in
Absolutely.
And to me, it's just an inspiration, and there's nothing I want more than my wife to say I was proud of you.
Yeah. How about you?
To me, it's the whole surrender, we often hear God, but when we think because we're human beings, but have the right to being, or have the right to grieve, and from people's side, they give you the time, like, oh, you just lost your wife, of course you can throw a fit, or you just had the news. And so for you to really trust God above everything else, when he says, don't get mad at me, and I love her more, also accept, it's like surrender really to him, because with that said is, he loves you more too than she loved you. So which means he will take care of you. He will look after you. And so the whole, I really want to surrender and not my emotions or my right that I think I have.
You know, what's interesting too is we were two simple kids. This is before podcast, before YouTube, before cell phone, before YouVersion.
Yeah.
And we just went to church and read the word and said, let's roll. And again, we had these examples that weren't the best, like we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But I was never an elder in the church. I was just a regular dude. I mean, we just went to church.
We have this dessert in Switzerland.
Keep talking. 5:53 Tim.
Okay,
Don't tease me.
and it's called one cup, and what it is a marshmallow, and it has chocolate on the outside. So it's a thin layer of chocolate on the outside. And we have a saying, because they're so popular, they've been around for, I don't know, 100 years. Like, they're like this classical Swiss dessert in a tin foil. And what we say is if you squash a morning cup, if you squash this dessert, you'll see what comes out. Meaning you just see the chocolate on the outside, but when you squash it, you see the white marshmallow. And that's the feeling that I get from your story. You came into this situation that put pressure on you from all sides, and all of a sudden, what came out was what's been, built over all these years, and that's an encouragement to me, to us, to everybody listening onto this podcast. You might not be proud of your past, you might have difficulties in the past, but if you build for your future and you go to church. Go to church on Sunday. Simple stuff. Join a small group. Serve on a team. Give towards that church. Join the community. Be a part of the body. Be a part of the local community around.
Absolutely.
One day you'll be in a situation just like Lee and Suzanne were, and when the pressure's on, you'll see what comes out. It's that simple.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
So if I'm. What am I going to do? Come to a plan. We can come back to that and how disciples helped me to focus it. I think maybe 6 months. That's what they call it, June of 23. I have all these things going through my head, like, what does this mean? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And so I spent a lot of time at Seacoast. One of the things I kept saying yes was somebody would say, I went to Grief Share. Amazing program. And at Grief Share, somebody says, you ought to join encouragers. No idea what it was. I said, okay. The encouragement was, you ought to do freedom. I went, okay. I'm just going to say yes and just go. So I met some people, and I'm talking to a couple of people in the hallway from one of the services, and we're chit-chatting, and all said, it hit me. I said, wait a minute. I said, I think I kind of got the big picture. I said, so there I was with my wife. I had just told she's got 4 to 8 weeks to live. She had more like 48 hours to live. And she said to me, and we talked a lot of things, she said, but Lee, I have no regrets. I've had a very good life. We've had a good life together. Yeah. I said, whoa. And I remember thinking to myself, there's probably nothing else we wanted to, and we never took big trips, anything like that. We lived simple life. I was in the military, but I remember thinking, we really had a good life. I mean, this was a good thing. And then I thought to myself, oh man, what if I didn't have Jesus? What if I had Jesus in our life? And it hit me. And people would say to me, well, Lee, you know, what was it like? And how'd you get through it? I said, I talked to dudes, old dudes like me. I said, let me be real clear. It's going to happen one day.
Yeah.
You're going to be there. One of you's going to be holding the other person's hand. And if you want to be in the position where you can say to her, she can say to you, I don't have any regrets. We had a great life together. Wow. And you want to know the Lord well. You want to, I say, you're going to build that love bank way. You're talking about fill it. You're going to build that love back up. And it takes a long time. And nothing special, spectacular. Just spend time together. Love each other. Learn, build that love back up. Build that faith back up.
Yeah.
Man, you're going to have to draw on that one day.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that we had built that up.
Yeah.
But I was drawing on that for months afterwards. But I was walking through Seacoast, and the Lord just put it in my head and said, that's part of the message that I'm trying to figure out. How do I tell people succinctly? And that's what I tell guys. You know, you got 5 minutes. You've gone through all these different programs, and then you come to Unstoppable Growth. Somebody shared it with you, invited you in, or whatever.
Yep.
And so you're 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in, six weeks in. So what has been some of the key takeaways for you? So I had put together big picture, laid out my plan. I had given a spiritual vision. I think this is back in January 23. And a lot of it was rudimentary. You got to do the legal things. You get it. Then, but I also had this, well, where's the Lord leading me? So I'm doing these programs, and I had gone through and taken care of a lot of it. And I actually was kind of like coasting. And it's like, what do I need to use these quote unique skills, and what is it you want me to uniquely do, Lord? Yeah. And I had planned on going Unstoppable the semester before, but I'd led a men's rooted group. So I'll do it next time. So I go walk. And then I bought the book ahead of time, read it, and I saw vision maps. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get into this. So what I really liked about Unstoppable was for all these thoughts I'd had for almost the last 2 years, and all these plans. And I mean, don't laugh at me. I go through my mission, I call it my mission plan, the things I need to do and accomplish. And I've got a spiritual version, I got a fitness, all these things. Yeah. I go to every week of at least every month, and I'm updating it, but it was too broad. So then this guy starts talking about, let's do my stories, tell a story, let's go through my why. And it took all these things in my brain and just brought them down. Yeah. And with the fascinating part, I mean, the book is great. I love the handbook view, which is you read the text and get it, but then it's very straightforward. I love fill out the blanks, and then I got to do work. I got to do the mental. Yeah. What is my story? And it took me a while to write it. What's my why? Yeah. I did my Kairos map, People have the first time. It's like, okay, Lee, you got to try that again. It was all over the place, But that was a really good.
You showed me that Kairos life map. Yeah. Limited to it's like limited to, we say 12 to 15.
Well, you'll love this. Of course, I put in a spreadsheet. I'm like, so I rated out a spreadsheet, a little line for every year. And I probably had maybe 20. Yeah. The big things. But the fascinating was the things that I was working for a company, and we sold the company, got to find a job, and they weren't really that big. And I realized I kind of had this second line, all that mattered to me was her and our relationship. And somehow that floated me through all this stuff. Yeah. Other things would happen, I had to have a little surgery one time, but it's just like, it'll be okay. Yeah. And then I hit the big one, boom, it goes down. But I had that faith back built up. But anyway, so all going through that, and we're doing a little breakout group, and we're going through the story and the why and everything. And one of the young guys, Justin, looks at me and he says, what was it like? He said, I would love to hear that story. I looked at him and I thought, I'm going to write it all down. They write it down. I just never thought about it. Yeah. And I thought there's value to me writing a story down for my kids. Yeah. Their kids. I mean, I need to write our story. I mean, from we're born, how we get, so I've been pouring through that. Yeah. So I'm excited about getting into, person of peace, people of peace, the vision maps. So it just helped me to neck down. Yeah. And get focused. I love it.
What is your why statement,
It is.
What do you remember?
Oh, but the gist of it. I'll give you the gist of it. Yeah, you know me. I'm too structured and exact. What's the exact word? So in my mind, I am convinced that I need to use those skills to help other men, because the weird part is there's not a whole lot of widowers walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and that's one thing I struggle with is there's no resources. Yeah. I found two books written by a Christian about, you know, their wife going to heaven. There's tons of stuff for widows, and that's great. So part of me is like, I need to have a reach out. I need to be able to be a resource for other men that are kind of hit that end point. I also want to be able to back it up and be able to reach out and talk to husbands or around marriage and kind of, again, through this unstoppable process, sharpen the message and say, you know, and maybe it's build the faith back, build the love back.
Yeah.
You're going to do it.
Yeah.
So my wife's statement is, how do I apply those skills and my experiences to go out and touch that population? So it's really around men, marriages, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say too, it's, you know, first of all, why statement always has to make most sense for you, has to energize you, that in the evening you can reflect on and say, was I able to live by it? And another thing is too, when you think of an encounter with a person, how do you want the person to walk away with what? And so this can help with, but I love the build up and figure out what can you do now so that when something becomes challenging, you're not going to be.
No, I agree. Well, and just like, when this guy said, well, I read your story and he said, I picked these two things. I started tearing up. I'm like, this is amazing.
Picking up on your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the really strong Christian nurses at Roper that I connected with that was super helpful. I actually wrote my story. The 10, 12-page version. I actually took the celebration of life stuff, and another friend read it, said, put some pictures in it, make it longer, you know. So I sent it to her. She sent it to a friend of hers who runs an Ephesians 5 class up at Northland Church. Yeah. This dude called me. You don't know me. Would you come up and just kind of tell your story? I went, I'll go anywhere, anytime, whatever.
Yeah.
Say yes.
I roll up. Yeah, just say yes. I roll up there, and he's got 6, 7 guys. Huge construction guy. Did not want to be there. 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I give him my little 10-minute version, you know. Didn't say a word. A couple of guys asked questions, and they went through the rest, 2 hours. We talked about Ephesians and things. 2 weeks later, I had the next meeting. And I'll never forget this. It was the first time I told the story to strangers. And the lead says, hey, okay, guys, we're getting together. Any thoughts about, last week? Any questions before we jump in? This big guy sits up and looks me right in the eye and says, I heard every word you said. I was like, what, dude? He said, I heard every word you said. He said, I was a football junkie. Married for 15 years. I got this great wife. But I watch football all the time. Yeah. So the day after Sunday, after I heard you, she came in, we came over for church, she hit my remote, and she said, put your football. He said, just sit down, we're going to talk. And we talked, and she said, tears in her eyes. He said, I'm watching one football game a week. No more all day Sunday, Monday, Thursday. I'm like, and then he said, you did that. I said, oh, no, man. I just told you my testimony. The Lord laid that on you. Yeah. But when I hear something like that, he tells me that, I'm like, let's go, man.
Yeah.
I want to do more.
Well, what I love about it is so what Rebecca always does. So for all the listeners, a lot of people who are listening to this podcast are Unstoppable participants or have gone through Unstoppable, and maybe they're wondering about their why statement. And, because we've had just about over 400 people go through Unstoppable. And I would say maybe half of them, come out with a strong why statement, with a great vision board. And, we have them back here on the podcast and talk about their successes. Like the last podcast that we had was with Jahira and their vision board. They literally put a picture of their house on their vision board and were able to walk into the same house
a couple of years later.
That's amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
So they had a house on, but they didn't realize it. Now realize even the picture of the house
looks like the one they ended up buying.
Yeah.
Oh, you tell the Lord. Yeah, but it's just unbelievable stories. Yeah. And he lost something like 33 pounds or something like that, and he read through the Bible for the first time. We go to church all the time, but do we ever read the Bible? Read through the Bible for the first time. So a lot of the things going on, but the why statement is so strong. And when somebody goes through Unstoppable just once, it's hard to really create that why statement. The people that have gone through it a couple of times really can nail down that why statement. And you always say, like, the why statement is not just something for a specific ministry. So we men
work description.
we men tend to make a why statement for what we do.
Yes.
And you always are so good at bringing it back to, but it's who you are, in the sense of that the why statement should be beneficial to your spouse, beneficial to your children, beneficial to your boss. You know, it goes in always, because you, like, everyone who comes in contact with you becomes in contact with your why statement.
Yeah.
With your why, with your...
Very often the work is an easy approach, especially for the guys, to get there.
Yeah.
Because you unconsciously have been living it.
Yeah.
And so, like, even you coming up with why you actually have been living it for so many years already.
Right.
You're just finding words to it now.
But it was helpful. I go through that process and I rewrote it many times, but it was powerful to write that down.
So this is I'm saying this because it's a learning experience for me. So, like, he said 2 why statements. He said one why statement was to help widowers.
Yeah.
The other why statement was to build a love and a faith bank. And the love and the faith bank, that's the why.
Yeah.
It's not the widowers, because there is more. There's more than widowers. There's more women and men that are going to just reap the benefit of your process.
Yeah.
You will have a powerful, powerful purpose. And this purpose is going to be lived out in so many different ways, with small groups, large groups, with speaking, with testimonies, with podcasts, with videos, with maybe a course, maybe, who knows in what direction this is all going to take. But it's going to help people really build up a love and a faith bank, so that when pressure comes, people will see what's
Or even I was wondering, I mean, you never wanted that outcome. And you said that you had faith and you had your wife and pressure. And for so many, it is, so like when this big chunk of wife, this big chunk of, for other one is career, like you just gave the example of football. What if this person falls away?
I know.
For many, they lose purpose. They don't know what now. And so for you, why would you say is faith so important that even something so important like your wife could go to heaven, that you still have purpose?
It gave me, again, if I didn't have Jesus or didn't have that background, I would have jumped up a hospital window. I mean, I'm being totally serious. But it just gave me I had heard people talk about a kingdom perspective. Like kind of before, I got it. Now I got it. I mean, somebody that was so dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything, see anything, but the Holy Spirit in my heart said, I got her. Yeah. And my daughter, I'm so glad it was just me. People would be going, Lee, what'd you have for breakfast, man? Yeah. But my daughter, same thing. Yeah. And she said, I know mommy's in heaven. And I just see it. So how it's changed my perspective is that I always want to go to heaven, but I just have this perspective of I ain't letting that girl down. So that's kind of my long-term goal. So what do I need to do down here day to day to help me get there? So the faith is, and I thank Jesus because, dude, you made all this happen my whole life. And I was just a regular couple. Yeah. We didn't anything spectacular,
So would you even say, with saying, I want to make it happen here, like you said, that this helps the void because you still had a void?
Absolutely.
It's not like, everything is fine.
Oh,
I mean,
I think about it every day. Yeah. Yeah. I think about it every day. But in the early days, I mean, I really had to fight back. Not the depression. I just missed her. I just missed that that person there that was always there all the time. But when I would get that, I'd just say, you got her, Lord. Yeah. You got her. And I just kept, I had a little thing I wrote on my wall, hung on my kitchen door, I said, and she used to always say, joy, choose love, choose Jesus. And I wrote down every second, sometimes every minute, sometimes every hour. And over time, it became kind of daily, but in the early days, but I just always required to God to say, you told me you got it. You told me you love her. I believe you. Yeah. And that I just have got this kind of parallel perspective, which is I need to do things here. Yeah. I'm going to be there one day. So that's how the faith pulls me through, and I get invited to this thing. I can share my story. It's just, Yeah. And that energizes it. You know, about the why, I might tell people, and like you say, I heard you. I'm like, you heard the Lord, but yeah, I can do that. Just tell a story.
Yeah.
Powerful story. Like,
And it's just,
powerful.
well, yeah, it's just,
This has been, I know we've got another ton of questions maybe coming, but this has been, we have to wrap it up. And this has been, now before, don't leave the podcast, don't turn off the video, because I've got something really important that's going to come right now. And I just feel like it's just been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for
my pleasure.
Being so vulnerable and sharing
the opportunity.
Just been amazing. And, you know, a lot of our listeners will have, you know, some kind of pain point, some kind of experience, and some of them will be like, will attach themselves to what you've said about building that faith and building that love bank. And it's really hard to build something over the long term. We want a quick fix.
Right.
We want a solution right away. And people join Unstoppable because of that. Oh, this is a silver bullet.
In 10 weeks, I'm good.
10 weeks.
I thought about it.
I've overcome everything. and now I'm living my purpose. And I love the fact that your life is bigger than Unstoppable, and Unstoppable has helped you focus and be intentional. What I also believe is that there is something supernatural that happens when somebody's gone through something and you pray for somebody else, or, you know, people are at home listening. And there's one thing that you can learn by, you know, taking notes and underlining things. And I love that. And it's more sort of a head thing, but there's a heart thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And so many things that you talked about in your story were just sort of like impartations. It was something that she said. It was something that you heard. And it was like a heart to heart. And I really feel that some of our listeners, our viewers, will get a heart to heart through this podcast.
So
they'll receive something that they didn't think they were going to receive.
Good.
And so I'd love for you just to take a moment, if you would, and just pray for everybody who's listening and watching.
Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for your love, your goodness. I want to thank you for your word, your instructions that you've given us in writing that has proved itself through the centuries. I want to thank you for how you have made it specific in my life and Suzanne's life and our time together, and you helped us to apply that. I just want to pray that others will just accept how simple and straightforward it really is. Like Tim said, just read the Bible, go to church, have faith, pray, spend time together. And I just pray that you'll help them to understand just really how straightforward it is, and just help shower them with your love and help them to really understand how much you really, truly love them. And you love all of them. It doesn't matter what they've done, what they think. You love them for who they are. You created them, and you created them special. They're special to you. And I just pray it would put that knowledge on their hearts and in their heads, and just help them to focus on you, and for those that are married, and just help them to focus on each other. And just, I encourage them, just please, Father, help them to put their treasure in heaven and put their treasure in each other, because it's all going to be in heaven with you. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I just want to pray, encourage other people to be vulnerable, tell their stories. You've touched so many lives and so many people in so many special ways, and I just want to encourage them to also speak out and share their stories. Personal testimonies are so powerful, and I just want to pray this and thank you for this time together. I praise your name, Jesus. Amen.
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 Amen and amen. Our mission is to help you grow in all areas of your life. Spiritually, relationally, physically, intellectually, and also financially. Let us know how we can help you and contact us at unstoppablegrowth.org. Have a great week.